2022. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Haller Jika.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Haliru Dauda Jika, representing Bauchi Central Senatorial District. I rise humbly to second that the Senate do consider, and I present and consider the report on corruption and anti-financial crimes committee as heavily moved by the chairman. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes on the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Enactment Bill 2022, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. You may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Report of the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes on a bill for an act to repeal the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended, and to enact the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, two bills were referred to the committee. These bills were SB 642 and SB 789, all dealing on the subject matter. These bills were consolidated and they seek to repeal the institutional and legal framework on money laundering prohibition in Nigeria and enact a new act to provide for effective and comprehensive legal framework in order to reinvigorate the fight against money laundering in the country by leaning more on prevention as a useful tool and to strengthen the existing legal regime in combating money laundering and other related crimes in the country. It expands the scope of supervisory bodies to effectively address the challenges faced in the implementation of anti-money laundering laws in Nigeria and provide protection for employees. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I refer members to page 5 for want of time to discuss the observations and findings of the committee. It's still on page 5. We have the recommendations, Your Excellency. Summary of the observations and findings of the committee are that stakeholders support the passage of this bill in view of its importance and relevance to the anti-corruption drive of the present administration, as well as the time-bound relevance of the FATF expectations. The enactment of this bill will also resolve the institutional issues regarding establishment of the Special Control Unit against Money Laundering, SCUMO, under the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment being implemented by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. That the bill seeks to introduce certain supervisory and enforcement mechanisms through the imposition of the administrative penalties for breach of any requirement imposed by the law. The provision will strengthen the money laundering legal regime in Nigeria. And finally, the enactment of this bill will bring about sustainable reinvigoration of the fight against money laundering. The Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes, having considered the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Bill, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Bill 2022. On behalf of members of the committee, I wish to express our gratitude for the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I so submit.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate Committee of the Whole. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes on Money Laundering, Prevention and Prohibition Enactment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clause 1 as recommended, clause 2 negatived. Was clause 2 negatived? Yes. Yeah, not the whole of clause 2. Clause 2 sub 2. That was the one that was negatived. Clerk, take note, please. Not the entire clause. Clause 3 to 5 as recommended. Clause 6 as amended. Clause 7 to 29 as recommended. Interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move that this bill be read.
Those against say nay, Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended and enact the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 to provide comprehensive legal and institutional framework for the prevention and prohibition of money laundering in Nigeria, established a special control unit under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and for other related matters, 2022, third reading.
For an act to repeal the Money Laundering Prohibition Act 2011 as amended and enact the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 to provide comprehensive legal and institutional framework for the prevention and prohibition of money laundering in Nigeria, establish the Special Control Unit under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and for other related matters, 2022, third reading taken, and the bill is hereby passed. Well, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for your very passionate participation in the consideration of this particular bill. Clearly, this is one piece of legislation that will help the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in fighting money laundering and corruption in general. Laws are meant to bring and sustain sanity, and wherever we find the laws not bringing that kind of expected benefit, we need to look at them and ensure that we work on them for us to achieve our target. This is, again, one major contribution by this Senate for the fight against corruption by this administration. Anytime we find anything that we feel should be amended, we don't have to wait for the executive at any time. But then it is also important that when we pass legislations, we must ensure that the essence of the legislations are not tampered with. Because there are times that when you pick out something out of a clause, out of the entire bill, you would render the piece of legislation or the bill almost useless because it cannot provide the efficacy that is expected. So with this, I want to congratulate the entire Senate for this feat. Leader of the Senate.